Yeah. Gets a real quick drink.
Fire-breathing Thomas.
They're all actually the dragons of the land that have been cursed.
Yeah. We put too many homebrews on, and now they're all stuck as train.
It's like, oh no, stop, please. Hey travelers, welcome to the Copper Fox Inn. Take a seat and talk with us as we discuss Homebrew for Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition. I'm your host, Thomas, the Human Bard. Well, you know what? Why don't you have some inspiration? Just for you. Just because, you deserve it. Joining me this week...
I'm Mercy, the Tiefling Wizard.
I'm Onog, the half-orc barbarian.
And I'm Bean, the Rock Gnome Rogue. I bet you didn't know I've been disguising my voice this whole time.
We'll use the earlier take.
Oh, I am just going to be sniffing the whole time. Sorry, I don't think I can stop it.
Well,
Please excuse. Onog has a bit of an orcish head cold. Great, let's start the episode off.
Okay.
Yeah, let's start with our magic item of the week.
Yes.
Ba-ba-da-ba-ba-da-ba.
Okay.
Oh.
I have to actually thank Thomas. This was an item that he...
I lent to you.
That he has lending to me.
I pulled it out of my bag of holding and I lent it to you.
Yes. So this is on Instagram, and it is from Mr. James Gifford, or perhaps Gifford. There's a lot of debate on that subject. Anyways.
Why are you bringing politics into this?
It's pronounced Games Gifford.
No. Okay. Anyway, this is the Glove of Appreciation. Very rare. Every time you receive a compliment, the glove gains a charge. I love that it just feeds on the energy of positivity.
Yeah.
1 charge, high five. On command, you can say, thank you, causing the glove to fly towards the target and proceed to high five, fist bump, secret handshake with them. There are slashes between this. It's like any of those things. The best part, of course, is unwilling creatures must succeed a wisdom save. And I don't know if that means their hand is compelled to high five, or it just sort of high fives, like,
their face
slaps them just a little bit. I love this item. Thank you, Thomas, for last minute lending me the link.
You're welcome.
I just am going to read the little text underneath it as well that Mr. Games Gifford wrote. Glove appreciation. Well, I'm honestly blown away with the love people have shown. It's a fun project that I thought I wasn't expecting people to like so much.
I like that he said he didn't expect people to like it so much, and it's a positive.
Yeah,
it's
it
a
is.
thumbs up.
I think it's just he put some really good karma out there for himself.
Mm-hmm.
I am curious, though, could you... I don't think you could, because the intent, it literally has a heart on it. Could you use this glove to, like, challenge someone to a fight?
No.
But,
it can
like,
only give handshakes.
But what if it went?
That's all it does.
What if you commanded it to high five them in the face, and then it was like slapping them with a glove, which is like how do you challenge
But that's
someone to a
not
fight?
really a high five.
No, but if you have someone in the face hard enough, it is a slap.
Yeah, but that's not a high five. Isn't a high five if one of the hands is a face.
That's how...
Okay, but it does say unwilling creatures must succeed a wisdom save.
I think that it compels them to raise their hands to do the gesture.
Okay,
I think that's how it works.
Maybe what happens is that if they pass their wisdom save, so they're not compelled to high five you, it's just like that they leave you hanging. So the glove is just like
just waiting.
Just like holding in the air, and then eventually it sort of shyly just retracts.
The fingers all droop down sadly, and it kind of wafts away.
I would have it be that if it passed a wisdom save, it would hang there for a sec and then just become lifeless and fall to the ground, defeated, and you'd have to go like pick up your glove
Just
and
flips
put it.
them off.
Whoop, and then you
It falls to the ground.
falls to the ground, and then you have to go pick it back up. It doesn't like return to you.
What I like is that there's no maximum number of charges, and it gains them by compliment, so it encourages your group to be very nice to whoever has it, to be like, I need to do this to get us into the club, so someone tell me something nice. And they're like, I like the effort you put into cooking. It's just like, that's technically a compliment, but I understand what you mean.
But it also encourages you to behave in a way that would gain you compliments.
Yeah.
It is ultimately, I mean, it's the whole argument about, like, selfishness, but it would kind of force you to behave as a better person, because then people would compliment you and it could charge your glove. And that's kind of fun. So here's an interesting thing you could use about the glove of appreciation. I wonder if it can sense, like, if a compliment is true
Is
or
intended,
not.
yeah.
Because I don't know, because it just says a compliment. So
Yeah.
even if people don't mean it, maybe it would charge it. But maybe you could tell if someone isn't truly, like, allied towards you because they give you a compliment and the glove doesn't charge, and you're like, oh, they didn't mean that. They don't like me. And that's how you can, like, use it as, like, a lie detector.
I would at least just hope that, like, backhanded, like, passive-aggressive compliments don't work because they are not, like, really compliments.
Backhanded. It's a glove.
What if backhanded compliments do give the glove a
back
little
slap
slap?
ability.
I think I
backhand.
also just said glub instead of glove.
That'd be
We
so
would never
good.
mispronounce words. Now, Mr. Games Gifford, we hope that you add a backhanded glove splack to this mergic item.
You're giving yourself more words that you have to put in the graphics later.
I'm not spelling this.
Somebody's just like, I just like how brave it is for you to be wearing a crop top. And then the glove just backhands him, like,
The glove flies
symbolically.
off of your hand. Like, unwilling to you. You're just like, wait, no! And it shoots across the table.
But what if it's because the glove appreciates you so much,
the
and it
glove's
has
like, "Don't say that
it's
about
like
my friend."
no, my purpose is to bolster the compliments, and how dare you? And it could be like a bad social situation.
You're using
thing.
compliments for evil.
Yeah, and so like the glove, if you're going to go to like a corporate cocktail party where you know Karen's gonna be a snob, you have to take the glove off and put it away, because otherwise the glove's just gonna slap
like trying
her
to escape.
and it's just not gonna look good for your company.
That's very good. Just like a glove inside of a box, like rattling around.
Let me
What's in there? Nothing?
And everyone's just like, wow, it's just so interesting how you chose to come here today after that little fiasco. And your inside pocket of your jacket's just like...
The DM describes, like, you hear the sound of a breaking window somewhere else in the house, and you know the glove has made it inside.
Where are they? How dare they? You cannot use compliments for evil.
Yeah, there's no range on this thing.
If you ever receive a compliment, it doesn't have to be near you.
Oh, yeah.
So someone on the other side of the world, like your parents are talking like, oh, you know, he is a nice boy. The glove is just like, bing. You're like, oh, someone just complimented me somewhere. That's nice.
That's such a nice object to have, just to know that people like you.
Yeah.
Also, I'm throwing it out there, it just says Target. It doesn't say that you have to see them. It doesn't say that anything. So you could just be like, my friend that lives in another country, I miss him. I want to give him a high five.
Would it work like Thor throwing his hammer style, where the glove pulls you into the sky and you can now fly?
Ooh, probably not.
I think it
that's
definitely
fun.
does. As rules as written.
No, rules as written, it flies off your hand.
Oh, it does?
Mm-hmm.
Well, but you could tie like a leather strip from the glove to your hand, like Thor's hammer. Okay, I'm still on topic.
Okay. But just think about it. You're like really missing your friend, and it's just basically your way of like literally, it's like fantasy poking, where you just
Facebook poking.
fake Facebook poking, and just you're sitting there and you miss your friend, and all of a sudden their glove shows up, and you do your secret high five, and then it goes back.
We should just make a magic item, the gloves of poking, where you can give them like any two people who have the gloves of poking. If they make the poking gesture, the other person feels it, and you can just back and forth with each other.
Just poke each other.
That sounds so annoying.
Well, no, you'd use it for
It's almost like that's why it was cycled out.
You could use it for like secret messages.
Yeah, you could like tap out Morse code, or you could be like, okay, we're separated in the dungeon.
Wait for the
but
signal.
if you get in like trouble, like poke me back, and I'll know what's going on.
That is an interesting thing that you bring up, Onog. Like, how was that choice made? Like, you know what people love? Getting poked by random people. People love getting poked. No one likes it.
How did that pass the
like
If
no
you
one
go
likes
up
it.
to
R&D
some,
phase.
everyone knows that the best way to greet a potential partner in a bar is to go up and poke them in the arm.
Shove a finger into their fat.
Everyone loves it.
Everyone loves that. And then say, hey, my grandma, I think, knows your dad, and you're like, please don't friend me.
We went to the same middle school. You're just like,
You're like, yes, that's why I'm not friends with you.
Very good.
Fair.
So that is the glove of appreciation.
It's
I like
so
it.
nice.
Thumbs up for artifacts that encourage
all right.
positivity.
We're gonna have to move on.
8 thumbs up. We all have hands, right? Does anyone canonically not have a hand? Is anyone missing a hand?
Bean is
missing both hands.
Both hands.
Oh, you have hooks for both hands.
I will admit that is why I only use mugs.
Uh-huh.
You
You have a special attachment.
No, I just can't ever put that much liquid in there so that when it swings,
weigh
it's
down.
okay, and I can just kind of like
It's a
dump
real
it.
it's a real Jenga setup where you're sort of like balancing it as it moves up, trying to get your hand under it, but still hooking the hook through it.
Oh no, I can use those like Roman cups that like the mugs that have
Oh,
hooks
they have a hook on both sides.
like sippy cup
A
style.
grail.
Grails don't have. Do they have
Handles on
hooks on
both
them?
sides? I don't know.
I don't know.
Maybe.
I do have both my hands. I was lying. I'm sorry.
I had believed you. You'd passed your perception.
Yeah,
Your
my deception.
I failed my perception check right there to
My
know what words I
deception
was
is
saying.
real high, and your intelligence is
It's my dumb
leaving.
stat.
I
Yep.
think we're all failing a
More
performance
like your-
check right now.
More like your dumb stat.
I think it's time to move on.
All of
Look,
us
I say when we move on, and that's a great idea. Let's move on to what I've brought this week. What I have brought this week is a series of 5 homebrew spells, which we haven't talked about a lot of spells on the podcast yet. Thought I'd broach this as a topic.
Yeah, there
I
was
brought
the.
my little book of like filler
Mundane
spells.
Oh, you
spells,
did,
yeah.
Yeah,
The
so that's
mundane
correct.
spells.
All the mundane spells.
But that was just sort of like a book.
That
Not
was like
really,
flavor
the
and
spells
like, yeah,
specifically.
fair enough. But you're right. We've talked about some before. This is, they're pretty balanced. I've looked through them and I actually really like them. And they fit an interesting niche. So it is Welrick's Tome of Reactions. This is a series of 5 spells with a casting time of 1 reaction. This is from Reddit, from r/Unearthed Arcana, from user PSN525. So I'll flip through some of these. There's only 5 of them, so we'll go through each one and we'll talk about it. But he has a bit of a flavor entry to start off. Welrick, the cowardly gnome wizard, is always worried about what is happening, mostly due to the bullying he has endured through his long life, and has learned to react to the battle around him. So we've got an increasing...
Well, that makes me feel sad a little bit.
Yeah, Welrick, he's always on his back foot, you know? Well, not perfectly increasing, but generally these are all at like different levels, and we'll start off with the level 1. So Amplify Spell, a first level transmutation, 1 reaction, 30 feet. The spell says, as a reaction to a spell being cast that deals damage or heals, you may increase the damage die or healing die by 1 more of the same type.
Ooh.
At higher levels, you can increase the amount of damage or healing die by 1 for each level of spell slot used above the first.
I really like that.
Interesting.
So if you are casting Fireball as a reaction, I could use my spell slot to give you an extra Fireball damage die added to your group, or a bunch of them if I use a high spell slot. But yeah, I think it's really interesting because my immediate thought is, oh no, you're going to be stacking all these dice, but it requires another spell to be being cast already. So...
Now, that being said, the way the action economy works, you could technically cast this in reaction to your own spell.
Which is fair, but it would be burning 2 spell slots on your turn.
Which is honestly the fairest part about it.
Yeah. You could definitely like work with each other to like try and set up a big like alpha strike attack.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's interesting that sometimes you'd rather just cast a second fireball, you know? Like instead of saying like just add 2 damage dice to my friend's fireball or even my own, just like I'm burning a spell slot I don't need to. I'll just cast another fireball.
But that being said, fireball can't be cast below 3rd level.
That's true.
This can. So if you have a bunch of lower levels leftover spell slots that you're just like, I need to get as much damage in as I can, and the only way to do that is by rolling extra fireball damage, then using your own spell slots to power up something that you can't use to cast fireball anyways is not a bad idea.
That's true.
I mean, if you're like a bard or like another support cast, but I'm just thinking bards, and you have like spell slots out the wazoo because you're leveled up way more and that's what you've built your character for, this might not be a bad spell just to kind of have in like your back pocket as like, you know what, during this
You'd have to steal it with magical secrets because it is a cleric, sorcerer, and wizard spell.
I guess.
So it's not a bard spell inherently.
But bards do eventually get other people's
Yeah,
spells.
I'm saying, with your magical secrets, you
what-
could steal it.
Yeah, I'm saying, like, higher level, but just anyone that has lots of spell slots and is a supporting class, this might not be the worst thing, because it just could be a good thing to be like, you know what, I'm at least just kind of helping with the healing and the damage that other people are doing.
You're right, the healing is also a big part of it too, especially if it's a cleric, because it says it's a cleric spell, where there's not a lot of spells that change the amount you can heal someone. There's spells that like give temporary hit points or something, but this guarantees extra healing, which is like a hard thing to guarantee during combat.
Well, and like it always sucks because you're like, awesome, I get to heal you 2d8. Okay, I rolled 2 1s, and it just it's so terrible that you cost a really high level spell and it doesn't heal very much.
So like,
as your reaction, you can then be like, and you know what? I'm just gonna add one more to the hat
to do that.
just in case.
Yeah, there's probably timing restrictions.
Yeah.
But on that note, though, there are storm clerics have a divinity that they can use that maximizes the damage dealt by a thunder damage spell or a lightning damage spell.
Yeah.
So if they cast, call lightning on someone and then use their reaction to cast a second level, add 2d10 call lightning damage to this, and they're using their divinity to maximize the damage, that's can stack
solid.
Up real quick.
That's pretty
Especially
radical.
if you consider that, like, does this stack with every lightning bolt call lightning casts,
I'm interested if it would feel more balanced or feel just worthless. If it was like, if you cast this at first level, it can only affect first level spells, but you could upcast it. So like you could cast it at 5th level to affect a 5th level spell by giving it 5 extra dice of that spell. But like you have to expend that level of spell slot too. That would bring maybe some balance into that consideration of, do I have a better 5th level spell I want to use instead? And
then at a certain point, you start having to break down the math, which I'm sure the people at Wizards already have done, where it's like, how much damage is a spell slot worth at what level? 3rd level, everyone talks about Fireball, but Fireball isn't that effective. There are more effective 3rd level spells if there's only one target. Fireball is effective because it hits multiple people, things like that. And so then you start having to do math like that, where it's just like, okay, so what is this spell worth? Is this level 1 spell slot worth better as a chromatic sphere? Or is it worth better as me just boosting up this Fireball by a little bit?
I will say that one of my favorite parts of combat in D&D is when you have opportunities to strategize with other players. Because I think sometimes it can be really disappointing when the most boring part of your session was combat, which should be exciting. And I've personally found that when you have abilities like sneak attack or things that can take other players' actions and placements into account, it makes it a lot more fun. And so I really like things like this, where it gives you an opportunity to strategize at the table of like, you do this so that I can do this, and it'll be better together. And I think that this has the potential to make combat a much more exciting experience, where you aren't just like on Facebook until it's your turn, because you're paying attention to what other people are doing so you can react to it. So I think adding more reactions is actually a great way to spice up the game.
Yeah, definitely. Let's move on to the next one. The next one is Momentary Blink, a much better name for the subclass ability we talked about last episode than Blink was. 2nd level transmutation.
We don't make fun of anyone here. But...
Yeah.
We don't.
Guys, remember, we are here to just love everyone, and the point isn't to make fun of people.
I would never. Casting time 1, reaction, range self. So it's only on you, instantaneous. It's a warlock, sorcerer, wizard spell. As a reaction to failing a dexterity saving throw to a spell or other magical ability, very important, you take half damage and vanish from your current plane of existence and appear in the ethereal plane. The spell fails and the casting is wasted if you are already on that plane. Then when the spell ends, if you are on the ethereal plane, you return to an unoccupied space of your choice you can see within 10 feet of the space you vanished from. If no unoccupied space is available within that range, you appear in the nearest unoccupied space. That's just the blink spell. It's mostly just the blink spell, but a version of it that works as a reaction, and it's only in response to failing a dexterity save from a spell or magical ability. So something like failing a save on a Dragon's Breath attack, you can't cast this. Dragon's Breath attacks are not magical abilities or spells. They are an inherent creature ability. So it is narrow enough that I'm cool with it being just blink but now a reaction. Because otherwise, if it was just blink but now a reaction, it's just too good. It's just you made blink better.
Well, but blink is over a long period of time.
That's fair.
For the equivalent. And this is just blink that happens once. And to be fair, there are a lot of, I think there's a Furbolg racial ability and a Gnome racial ability that are very similar to this, where it's just, instead of you teleporting or phasing into another reality, if you just take damage, you turn invisible and can run away.
Yeah.
Kind of a thing.
I mean, I kind of like the flavor that it's just basically like if you get a magical spook, you just sort of disappear for a second and come back.
Yeah, whoa! Like you can't physically control when you cast
like,
the spell.
And I mean, you could play it that way, but it's just, I mean, with the flavor of it being magic, you could almost say that it is like the magic that you receive that triggers your ability to cast this spell.
If you cast Fireball on yourself, do you have to make a dexterity saving throw?
Yes, if you are in range of the spell, and you do not spell shape it. So
I could take half Fireball damage in order to move 10 feet. We didn't think this is too good. This is too powerful. I could target myself with Fireball and then blink away and only take half damage to move 10 feet in any direction. This is OP. We're going to have to nerf it.
Okay.
I was thinking for a split second that you were saying in order to move 10 feet, you would have to cast Fireball, and I was like, I think there are much easier ways.
That's the goal.
You can just walk.
You could just step,
You could just go there, but I'm saying that's a cool
But yeah, it would
I just figured it out. You can get to move 10 feet on your turn.
Well, you can just sort of blow up the whole room and just like, poof, but I'm out of here.
But, I mean, it's a little bit like a magician fireball kind of thing.
Exactly.
But like one where you get burned very badly by the smoke bomb you've deployed.
It's a Job from Arrested Development version.
The Job version where he's constantly burning his hands for his fireball.
But, I mean, it is an interesting thing because if a lot of things are attacking you, you're right. You could use this and just be like, I'm gonna cast this thing on myself. I normally wouldn't do this, but
maybe if there's another weaker spell we could cast that makes us make a dexterity saving throw.
Yeah.
We could trick it.
Catch these burning hands.
Can you burning hands yourself? Because you have to touch your thumbs together to cast it. Can you just bend your wrists backwards?
It just makes a cone that can include your space.
Oh no,
so
Mercy's
you can just
got it. You just
totally burn
you
yourself.
cross your arms.
Oh.
Yeah.
And then you're doing sort of a Dracula.
Doing a Dracula thing is you just explode your own face.
Burn your own eyebrows off. Very good. Let's move on. Let's move on to the next one. Let's move on.
This is Onog's last episode.
It's just a cough and only a cough and everything is fine.
We're working on curing the curse that is currently
If you want to
Sapping the
send us
life
any
force.
goodie packages to help Onog cure his curse,
send them to
You don't wanna
Cards
open-
Against Humanity.
You don't want to open up that can of worms.
No, you don't want that.
oh,
The next spell.
As someone who used to receive goodie packages from people all the time, at a certain point you just had to say, please stop giving us candy. We are going to die of diabetes.
Our teeth will rot out of our skulls.
It won't even get that far.
Let's move on to the next spell. The next spell is Soulbind, a 4th level abjuration spell. This is one of my favorite ones.
All
So,
right.
reaction, self, 30 feet. Components, VS, 1 round, Sorcerer Wizard. As a reaction to being targeted by an attack, you attempt to bind your soul to that of another creature you can see within 30 feet. That creature makes a Wisdom saving throw. On a failed save, until the end of your next turn, any damage dealt to you is also dealt to that creature, and any damage dealt to that creature is also dealt to you.
this feels like a card that you would get in the board game Betrayal at the House on the Hill.
Yeah.
It has that kind of a vibe to it.
It's interesting. It doesn't swap it. It doesn't say it's dealt to it instead. It says it's just dealt to both of you.
Well, you're like each other's voodoo dolls.
Well, which is like, if there's only one enemy, and you just target him, you say, well, what are you going to do? Attack me now? You'll just kill yourself. Like, we're in a perfect stalemate. If there's a lot of people, this gets much worse. But
well, guys, so there's nothing in here that stops simultaneous damage to each of you on the same turn from just instantly killing you both in a recursion, like in a damage like cycle.
Loop.
like what? Like,
Because any damage dealt to you is dealt to him. Any damage dealt to him is dealt to you. So if you, for instance, cast this on yourself and then on your next turn, fireball both of you, you will both instantly receive so much fire damage that you cease to exist.
Gotcha. We've got a real shiny.
So you better stay far away from each other.
I got it.
I have
Infinite damage loop.
heard that in some of the power factories in fantasy worlds, they just have two people that have soul-binded themselves to each other and are in a constant loop of agony, but then they just have clerics that are just healing them also.
Oh, no.
And they use that loop to power nations.
It's just perpetual energy.
Just perpetual.
Just made out of the literal agony and sadness of human beings.
All your light bulbs are run by the agony of two men.
How does damage work in D&D as far as, like, if I'm immune to something, like immune to a kind of damage, do I take the damage but it's reduced to 0?
No.
Or do I not take the damage?
I think in the rules as written you don't take.
You just says you just
So-
don't. If you would, you instead do not. It's a replacement
Yeah,
effect.
there's nothing in here talking about the damage can't be reduced. So if you were a tiefling sorcerer and you cast this on yourself and your Aarakocra foe, and you fireball him, you still just take half the fireball, but he takes the whole fireball.
Because it's still fire. Well,
Well,
it
I don't
doesn't
think so because you're not at that point you're not taking damage from fire. You're taking damage
No.
from your mystic
No,
connection.
no, but it says that that damage is dealt.
If it was like converted to, you take that much psychic damage.
No, but it just says that
would-
damage, which would mean that
Yeah.
whatever kind of damage it was is the kind of damage you
See,
receive.
we're getting the
That's
Magic
true,
the
actually,
Gathering
yeah.
rules
Yeah,
lawyer.
this is what I'm
Uh,
cracking my
yeah.
neck ready
But
to
that's
go.
pretty clever because if you're like a dragonborn that can't be poisoned or something, and then you just keep doing poison to the other person, you're fine.
Definitely. The way that you would fix it is you would say the first time
On a
you
turn or
take
something.
damage on a turn. Because then it just happens the once.
Well, because actually, wait, you don't even need to hurt each other with it. It's just the way it's worded. If any of you get hurt, it's an infinite damage loop.
Yeah.
It
But that's
does-
just a grammatical
That's obviously not the intent.
syntax.
Yeah.
That's
Unless it is, and this is the worst
rules as
but
written.
best 4th level spell possible. It's just oh gosh, it's just that aftermath ability from Pokemon where it's just you kill me, I kill you.
Oh, you've taken me down. I've got a dead man's trigger right here, boy. We're both going down.
The other title for this spell is Mexican Standoff.
Just you and him both looking at each other. Don't make me
You
do
need
it.
at least
Just-
another person for
Just
it to be a
grabbing
Mexican
Voldemort and
stand.
jumping off the bridge.
Yeah.
But it's also the thing where it doesn't matter who you're pointing your gun at, because you could be threatening him by pointing a gun at him or at yourself. Mick, don't make me do it. I will.
You're gonna shoot me if I shoot me?
You're gonna shoot me. I'll shoot me, and then you'll get shot too. And then I'll shoot me.
It's called Malk.
What?
That's,
Oh, I got the reference?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a YouTube reference that looks like you didn't get
You're
it.
gonna
so-
shoot me if I shoot myself.
That doesn't make any sense.
I don't know.
Good old Julian Smith.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yep, you've got.
All right. The next spell is Fate Shift, 3rd level divination spell. It is a reaction, 60 feet. It's got VSM, small golden thread material. First one with the material. Instantaneous. A bard or cleric spell. As a reaction to a creature within 60 feet of you being hit by an attack that would bring them to 0 hit points, that creature instead takes no damage. Until the end of that creature's next turn, they have advantage on saving throws.
Ooh.
Wow.
So you just kind of spare them for a second.
Yep.
And that's only 3rd level.
It's 3rd level, yeah.
That's pretty good.
It's only bards and clerics. They have to be within 60 feet of you, but that's not that uncommon.
No, it's not.
I really
But it's
like this.
just the spell that, or just the attack that would kill them. But the thing is, how reactions work is you get 1 per round, right? You don't get 1 well, not per round, but you can't use a reaction again until the end of your next turn, right? So if you use it on one attack that would do it, and then someone else goes to attack him, you've used your reaction already. So it's not like you can infinitely save them. But if there's one really important thing that you need to keep this person alive for,
Like a disintegrate spell or something.
you can just for that one moment be like, nope, you didn't die actually.
I mean, this is a little bit like Spare the Dying, but just slightly. I don't know if it's slightly better.
Well, it's honestly more akin to counterspell. Just
guess.
for
almost like a counter.
Yeah.
but for damage sources instead of just magic in general.
It's a little bit like the weird, awkward stepchild of Spare the Dying and Counterspell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it is because it is any attack that would bring them to 0 hit points. So it could be a physical attack or a spell attack or anything. But it is that you only have 1 reaction, so you can save them once. But if they've got 7 goblins around them and they're all just stomping on their head, like You can't keep casting it over.
But
and over.
if you're doing something like fighting a beholder,
one big target.
Yeah, and it's like it wouldn't just kill you a little bit. Then this could be like a great thing to keep in the back of your pocket because, like, if it's
back of your pocket, not your back pocket. Just like, the back part of your pocket.
Yeah, that little thing where you can put coins.
Oh, in your
that's the back of the pocket.
I keep many things in my pocket.
My most useful thing's in the front of my pocket, but in the back of the pocket behind those.
You keep it in the back of your pocket so that when you reach in, it's the first thing your hand touches.
Oh. Mm-hmm.
So that it's easy to
Only
grab.
if you're going down the back part of the pocket, I guess.
I'm thinking of my back pocket.
I think
it's good. We've
beaten
run
this
that
to
joke
death,
dry.
Yeah, I said a stupid...
Right before that joke is dead, though, I do want to cast Fate Shift on it and keep it going for just a little. I'll use my reaction. So the back
no,
of...
you can't because no one attacked it. It just died on its
Mercy
own.
was definitely attacked.
I guess that's fair.
Yeah, I would say that I attacked it.
But it's pretty cool. Let's talk about the final one, which is the most powerful one, obviously. It is Welrick's Emotional Outburst.
Oh boy.
Okay.
7th level conjuration spell. I don't know why it's conjuration, not evocation. We'll talk about that later. Spells are weird. 1 reaction, 15-foot radius, VS, instantaneous. It's a cleric spell only.
Okay.
As a reaction to seeing an ally drop to 0 hit points, your emotional reaction bursts outwards. Creatures within 15 feet of you must make dexterity saving throws. They take 10d10 necrotic or radiant damage, you choose, or half as much on a successful save. In addition, they must make a wisdom saving throw or become frightened of you for 1 minute. They may attempt this saving throw on the end of each of their turns to end this effect.
That's really cool.
Your friend died and you just go, no! And you explode with like violent energy and then everyone near you is terrified.
This is just the anime like freak out moment.
Yeah,
definitely.
I like the flavor of it very much. Mm-hmm. I have 2 issues.
All right, let's talk.
Okay.
Let's get into it.
I'm gonna get all nitpicky here. First of all, in the foreword it says Welrick is a cowardly gnome wizard, and this is Welrick's emotional outburst, and it is only a cleric spell. So I don't know how Welrick created a cleric spell if he was a wizard.
He multi-class.
All of these spells
He
are from
multi-classed
different
14 levels to get into that. He is more cleric than he is wizard, if that's the case.
Yeah.
But that's beside the point. That's just forgotten semantics kind of a thing. But the other thing is, you got to be careful when using this, because if your ally is in 15 feet of you, it just says creatures. It doesn't says enemies or chosen creatures. Any creatures.
I like that about this, though.
If you're next to them, they die.
You just also kill your friend.
That's true of all area effect spells. Like, that's always something
you have
to bear in mind.
There are certain ones, particularly ones that deal necrotic damage or radiant damage, where you can be selective about your target.
But I mean, there is an entire, like sorcery point ability to get around that, because that is just a reality for the majority of area effect spells. So I don't mind that being in there, because that's a really powerful spell, and it almost balances it a little bit.
If it's a dangerous encounter, you make sure to have your cleric stand 15 feet away from everyone at all times, just in case.
See, I love it though because it is an emotional outburst. The idea is that you're not necessarily like in control, like flavor-wise, you just freak out, and the wave of your just raw anger affects everything around you. And that's a thing that we have to deal with in real life in a less fantastical way. So what have we learned from this, guys?
Nothing at all. And if you didn't like my raw anger, you won't like my grilled anger, my deep fried anger.
Please notice how no one is laughing.
My broiled anger, perhaps.
There we go. That's better.
Pan-seared.
There we go. You're getting there. You're getting it.
Microwave.
I think deep fried anger could work as like a band name.
What's it called when you cook it with just some lemon juice?
Ceviche.
Your ceviche anger?
No, it would be anger ceviche.
Oh, thank you.
Anger is a dish best served out of the microwave after 20 minutes.
Still a little cold in the middle, but boiling hot on the bowl. Whoa, why is it cold?
Why are all of my bowls more conductive than any food I will ever eat?
How are mashed potatoes less conductive than a bowl?
Before you move forward with this, you must think to yourself, are my hands strong enough to be able to get the bowl out of the microwave and set on the counter, or will I drop it between?
Well, you have to say that, but with all of the like metaphors baked in, like, are your hands strong enough to take the bowl of your contempt from the microwave of your fury before you drop it onto the floor of reality?
Or will you be able to set it on the countertop of wisdom?
Very good.
But will it shatter? Will you shatter the bowl of your friendship? I thought the bowl was my contempt. No, it's your friendship.
We're
now.
establishing new reality.
The mashed potatoes were the contempt.
That's why they're cold.
Thank you, Welrick, for these wonderful spells. I think that reactions are an area of spells that could use a lot of work. Like, there's not many of them. We can only think of the two big ones are shield and counterspell. Then there's, I guess, like Hellish Rebuke you can do.
Is Vicious Mockery a reaction?
Vicious Mockery is an ability, not
Vicious
a spell.
Mockery is a bardic ability.
Okay, then what am I thinking of? There's an ability where someone attacks you and then you can respond to it and it can, like, lower their...
Attack roll. It is Vicious Mockery.
Is it Vicious Mockery?
That's Vicious Mockery, and also
No, not
Cutting
Vicious
words.
Mockery. Cutting. No. We meant cutting words the whole time.
Yeah, you're right.
Vicious Mockery is a spell. That's
Vicious Mockery is
that's just
action.
dealing. That's just dealing.
Okay.
But cutting words
Psychic
is a use of bardic inspiration.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
I always get them mixed up because their
They are the
names
same thing.
are like
Oh,
the
yeah.
same
You're
kind
right.
of
They
thing.
are the exact same thing.
Everyone's gonna be like,
But yeah, I think that
Everyone gets that mixed up.
I think there's a really fertile ground of reaction spells to like start playing around with, and I hope
100%.
maybe in some D&D expansions going forward we might see some interesting new spells in that. I know there was a new spell in like the Guildmaster's Guide to Ravnica. It wasn't a reaction spell, but I'm saying they're not like, they are thinking of new spells, and every once in a while they'll throw one in. There's the there's common magic items, and there are some spells in Xanathar's Guide to Everything.
Well, I just know that, like, whenever I'm playing a larger caster,
A full caster?
full caster,
A
there you go.
heftier caster.
A heftier,
chunky
caster.
A
chunky
A
caster.
strong, chunky caster.
So whenever I'm playing someone that just has a lot of spells, I always want to make sure I have a diverse type of spells. And I always look for reaction spells because I'm like, I should have one, and I'm always wanting
There's not as many
more.
as you want.
I
Yeah.
want more variety.
So yeah, that's why I liked it. I
Yeah,
wanted to bring it up because
this
I
is
think
good.
there's some area to play with there. All right, let's move on to what Onog's brought us this week.
All right.
I'm very excited.
I have brought a player race, a ferocious beast, an unknowable monstrosity created by the meddling of wizards. I bring you the Iquiqui.
Is it pronounced Iquiqui, or is it pronounced Iquiqui?
It's clearly pronounced Iquiqui. No, but the Iquiqui resemble bipedal owls with no wings and taloned hands. They are little baby owl bears.
Oh, they're so cute. So they're sort of like Kenku, but owls.
They're Kenku if they were owls and bears.
And halflings.
And
Yes.
small.
Because they're bitty boys.
They're tiny.
They're tiny bitty boys.
Oh.
Okay, let's get into
But
it.
no, they're ferocious beasts.
Oh, right.
Of unknowable rage and hatred. You will see.
Do not spurn their great...
Some suspect they are
Legendary status.
descendants of the first owlbears, a part of the same experiments that created them. They are short, stocky, and share the enhanced
That's the sound they make after they eat you.
All right, shut up.
You almost said monksculature, which I think is a great way to describe how fit your monk character
My
looks. He's got my
monksculature.
good
What's
monksculature.
your monksculature stat?
Like I've said, I am cursed with a disease, and it's also causing poison damage. So it's very confusing in the rules how I'm supposed to resist this.
You're at like 4 levels of exhaustion.
Yeah. All right, so they are short, stocky, and share the enhanced musculature of their larger cousins.
Yeah.
The Iquiqui prefer mountains and boreal forests, but they are hardy and capable hunters with those talons. And some live in the most barren of deserts. Rarely farmers, most Iquiqui consider it a point of pride to hunt their own dinner.
Oh wait, these are just
They're Ewoks.
Ewoks.
they're Ewoks.
They're Ewoks,
Yeah.
but they were designed to be carnivores, so it's
Ewoks.
less terrifying.
Ewok's just eating those stormtroopers right out of their own helmets.
It's just like a crab, just slurping them up.
I was picturing like a chili bowl inside
that
of the
works too.
helmet, but like
Oh.
of the stormtrooper himself.
Nice.
And they eat it like
That's
Winnie
how the movie
Pooh.
ends, right? That's how I remember it ending.
Yeah, that's why
Yeah.
all those helmets are empty
That's
and
why
they're
there's-
playing music.
Yeah, that's why there's so many spit roast fires around.
For all our fans that we have, any of you with artistic abilities, if you could please draw me a la Winnie the Pooh style picture of an Ewok eating out of a stormtrooper helmet like Winnie the Pooh.
Like a honey pot?
Like a honey pot.
With the blood stuck
Just
on his
dripping
hands.
blood on his hand and like with a little, like he looks like Winnie the Pooh but with like a little shirt.
That's not berries, that's a human being. Oh bother.
Oh boy, guys.
Okay,
All right.
let's move on.
Iquiqui mate for life as a general rule, and their families rarely exceed 4 individuals at a time.
They've got a lot of stamina to be mating their whole lives.
All right. This is an adorable baby bird, and you will not make sex jokes about it.
You were just saying it was a ferocious beast.
No, it's murder. It's a murderous monster. You will see. You will see.
Stay consistent.
If a family grows too large, the eldest child is encouraged to leave the nest and start their own family. See, they're heartless
I
monsters.
thought I was gonna say he's eaten.
And is eaten to nourish the others. This moment marks true adulthood in their lives, and their parents may make a great display, showering gifts and well wishes upon their departing child.
Oh, okay.
Or throwing a party attended by friends and even extended family, which apparently they don't have, so I don't know how that works.
They call it their leave the nestiera, and it's a big deal. You have to get a nice dress for it.
Although Iquiqui are typically shy, cautious, and generally slow to trust others, they make steadfast friends and trustworthy allies.
I love them.
So, let's get into the nitty-gritty with the numbers and the abilities.
Can I just point out that paragraph is like every D&D character anyone's ever come up with? Like, I'm shy, I'm cautious, I'm really slow to trust, but I'm steadfast and you can always trust me and I'll be your best friend. That's just
It's like-
every D&D character.
Well, it's not every D&D. Some of them are the opposite, where they're very easy to trust, but then they are not
trustworthy.
consistent or trustworthy
That's
at all.
Like me.
That is one of the 2 D&D characters in your defense.
There is a coin that you flip when you make your D&D character.
Yeah, we've got 2 here. We've got Mercy and Onog on one side and Bean and Thomas on the other.
100%.
You can decide which is which. Vote in the comments
Hey.
below.
Hey.
We know.
Onog is offended by that.
Oh,
I know who I am.
do you
All right, so
do any of this?
the ability score increases that Iquiqui get are your wisdom score increases by 2 and your strength score increases by 1. So they are wise, tough, strong things.
Okay.
Strong little things. Iquiqui reach maturity at 10 years and live up to 60 years.
Oh.
Oh, so I was expecting short-lived. So
Because they're tiny.
Little
Their
boys.
little hearts give out.
yeah.
Oh.
And what? That's what happens when you die.
Parrots live forever.
Parrots.
I mean, I'll live forever, of course, but I meant other people
Yeah.
who have to deal with death.
Iquiqui.
Yes, but owl live forever.
Okay.
Equiqui.
If we weren't surrounded by
You can't catch up because I'm so quick.
If we weren't surrounded by recording equipment, I would have forcibly ejected you from the room.
Is that what this big
Yeah,
mechanism
we've
under
been
the
working
chair
on building
is?
those. They're not done yet.
Why does
All right.
only mine have it though?
All right, size. Iquiqui average 2 to 3 feet tall and weigh around 40 pounds. Your size is small.
Small with an O. Small.
All right. Your base walking speed is 25 feet. If your hands are unoccupied, you can run on all fours at a speed of 35 feet. Shia LaBeouf. These things can just glump right towards you, man.
Oh, if one
Runs on all.
had like the urchin background and they had a little mouse, the mouse could like ride on their back. Is there like a little mount?
Guys, they're slower than you on 2 feet, but they're not the same speed. They're faster than you on all 4, which means they'd be doing that sort of like adorable penguin style walking. Like, oh, he's so cute, and then they just lower into predator stance, and
just
now
boom.
you can't outrun them.
They will find
They
you.
will
I mean,
catch you.
That's very much a bear thing. Like
Yeah,
if you
that's
think
true.
about bears walking on 2 feet, they kind of do the lumber thing, but then they just.
They get down into that run.
All right, languages. You can speak, read, and write Common and Iquiqui. which I assume sounds a lot like chirping and that noise.
We were talking the other day about languages that only exist for certain like player characters cannot choose to have learned them in the player's handbook, but some races speak them.
Yeah.
Like I think like lizard folk speak lizard folk, don't they?
They speak Draconic.
No, yeah, lizard folk speak Draconic. I think Tabaxi Don't have a language.
Three Kreen.
Three
Kreen.
No.
Three Kreen speak Three Kreen.
There's a different one. There's one that is a player race that like the player race, if you take it, it says you speak common and the name. Oh no. They're monsters. Sahagwin. Sahagwin speak Sahagwin.
Yeah.
But that's not a language the player handbook allows you to know.
Yeah.
I mean,
well, and that's the thing. That's honestly a lot of the more homebrewy races have that. There aren't really any player races, as we kind of just stumbled on accidentally. Even Tabaxi don't know Tabaxi. They get to know Common and then 2 other languages.
Yeah.
They have no. I think
inherent language.
Aarakocrans are the only player race that speak their own unique language. They know Common, Aarakocran, and Oran.
Oh yeah, and
those
Oran.
are 2 separate languages.
Yeah. I think that's just weird that there are languages, but you can't start knowing them as far as rules as written. You would have to like work with your DM, or you'd have to learn it in the context of the game. A Sahagwin would have to teach you how to speak Sahagwin.
Which is gonna...
Yeah, don't trust
Don't do
Sahagwin. That's a bad idea.
I mean, if you think about it, like, dolphins have a very complex language, and as humans, it would be very, very difficult for us to, like, learn to speak dolphin, because we don't have the mouths and esophaguses to be able to do that. So if you look
I think technically they don't have the esophagus.
Esophagi?
Esophagan.
That's not right.
Esophagi, I hardly know her.
Him. I just really want like a Tarzan-esque scene where like a Sahagwin is teaching you like an elf like Sahagwin, and it's the Strangers Like Me song from Tarzan as you're like riding on a big wheeled bicycle around their camp, and they're showing you like the globe,
but they're
teaching you how to speak Sahagwin.
They're secretly just preparing dinner behind
yeah,
you.
they're
and
secretly
are going
putting
to just
salt
eat
in a
you.
bowl, just like stirring it up. This guy's gonna be delicious.
You're saying it's a globe, but they would just like pull down a curtain and it's just all these bones like in a weird sculpture, and you're just like, and the more you actually learn the language of Sahagwin, the more you're like, I need to go.
Sahagwin! Like a gorilla? Right?
Yeah.
Tarzan? Sahagwin!
Oh boy. Alright, where was I?
I don't know.
What was I? Who are any of us?
Well, that's Dark Vision. You're at Dark Vision.
Dark Vision. Oh no, this is the wrong page.
They have Dark Vision, which we get what that means. Keen Sight is the next one.
Hold on. So, but in addition to being able to see in the dark, they can see in the dark better than anything else because they have advantage on wisdom perception checks made that rely on sight. Okay. Leverage. So here's where they're unstoppable murder beasts. You can wield a weapon, or you can wield a weapons with the heavy property without the penalty usually applied to small creatures. So
Which is very cute, to be fair.
Normally, small creatures cannot wield any weapons that are classified as heavy. That's great axes, mauls,
Like
great swords.
Most two-handed
Yeah,
weapons.
all of the reach weapons.
Not lances, oddly enough.
Yeah, lances are technically
They're a
one-handed.
special weapon.
Lances are just big sticks.
They're
okay?
weird, yeah.
They are very big sticks, yes. But yeah, so you can have a little owlbear Iquiqui barbarian
with
that
a great axe.
with just a great axe and just swings away.
Path of the Strongest, 2 great axes.
Path of the Strongest.
But I mean,
Iquiqui with 2 great axes. It's essentially what we made on that video.
That's
the penguin in
stop
armor.
saying things I'm gonna animate later.
Yeah, that's fair.
but like, just imagine the image of like it's walking and it's like dragging a giant two-handed maul that like has to drag on the
And you're
ground.
like, oh, so cute. There's no way you can lift that.
It's just that's very Looney Tunes. It's just like the little like Foghorn Leghorn's like nephew or something.
Gosh.
Or like
Yeah.
it's always the son of the chicken he's dating. That's what it is.
Yes.
Okay.
It's like
Yeah.
he's like the weird stepfather to this
And
tiny quiet chicken
I
little.
was gonna do a more accessible, just like it's like a Tom and Jerry, where like they can
No.
both lift the
That's the
equal
same
weight
thing.
objects.
It's just mine's more specific and funnier.
I know.
He has
And
like,
he
has
just
like
shows up and he's just like, what you going to do with that, boy? And it just smack.
because he's got like a nerdy stepson, but he's not just nerdy. He's clearly like a budding serial killer.
Yeah, something's wrong.
Something-
Something's wrong with you, boy.
that episode has the best line Foghorn Leghorn has ever said. He hands the kid a baseball, and the kid proceeds to eat it, and he's like, haven't you ever seen a baseball before? And the kid shakes his hand. Foghorn Leghorn looks directly into the camera and says, a kid that's never seen a baseball before is a little... Eugh. And then...
That's the best line.
Goes back.
You're committing to this.
Yes, it haunts me forever.
Because what does he mean by that?
I would argue his line in Space Jam where he gets burned by fire breath and he says, would you like original recipe or extra crispy? Before he falls to a pile of dust, Spider-Man style.
All right, moving onwardly. I'm just gonna...
Mr. Stark, I don't feel so good.
I'm just gonna hard move on to that. All right, so now with leverage, they have their weapon choices expanded to them. Now, owlbear weaponry, they have even more options. You have sharp claws, which grant you a climbing speed of 20 feet.
Ooh,
In
what?
addition, your claws and beak are natural weapons, in which you can use to make unarmed strikes. When you hit with them, you deal slashing damage equal to 1d4 plus your strength modifier.
If you have a climbing speed of 20 feet, it's supposed to go in the speed section, my friend. Come on.
Well, no, I think Tabaxi,
It has to do with the fact that you have claws.
No, I know, but it would still list it under your speed.
Okay, fair
It
enough.
lists all of your movement types.
What this makes me think of, though, is like the scene where Puss in Boots in Shrek is like climbing all over him and
just
clawing him.
Yeah.
You're right, these are becoming more terrifying.
I told
as
you, it's not going to be fun.
read
Before we
about
go on
them.
any further, did we introduce the author of this?
So this is brought to us by user, this was found on the Unearthed Arcana Reddit page, and it was brought to us by user Call Me Partario. Call me Partario.
Call me Partario.
Call me Partario.
Partario, if you're out there, just
What should we call
him.
you?
No, call him. Like,
Call
he
me
just wants you to,
Partario.
he
All
just
right.
wants you to call him.
But yeah, and he posted this, and there's a lot of hyperlinks to a longer, much more in-depth PDF called Old Gus's Errata Additional Player Options, which we could spend the rest of our lives looking at, by the
Fair
way.
enough. Maybe one episode we will spend the rest of our lives looking at it.
All right. So,
Long
owlbears,
episode.
so they have a lot of mobility, they have a lot of weapon options. They're just tough little guys, and they can see it's terrifying. So, hybrid nature is the last ability they have. Your creature type is monstrosity in addition to humanoid.
Okay.
You can become the target of any ability, spell, or effect that affects either of your creature types.
Ooh.
Interestingly enough, in a game that I'm running right now, we just had a character whose creature type changed from humanoid to undead
That's right.
through a series of complex circumstances. And now some spells that affect humanoids no longer affect this person.
Ooh.
Like, whole
Ooh,
person.
they can't get cure wounds.
They can't. Yeah, they can't get hold personed or hold monstered because hold monster says undead are not affected by this spell. Weird fact.
Mm-hmm. All right. So, that's all well and good. You say, oh, but the Equiqui are still cute.
They are still cute.
They are still cute, but ferocious. Well, I will introduce you the next level of savagery.
Wait a minute, real quick.
What?
Have we been pronouncing it wrong? Is it eek wee wee? Is that how you pronounce it?
No,
There's more K's.
No, not down
No.
here.
This one says equiwi.
Oh,
Is
well,
it a typo?
later on there's a typo where it says equi wee wee.
Oh yeah, that's just a typo.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's just...
Equiwi.
Okay. Oh, well then I guess we can't take this racial feat that was included, owlbear savagery, because only Equiwi 8th level can take it. Not Equiqui.
Not equiquis.
But, so, you have retained some of the primal savagery of your ancestors. As an action, you become a savage owlbear for up to an hour. For the duration, you gain the following benefits.
What?
Your size doubles in all dimensions and your weight is multiplied by 8. This growth increases your size by 1 category, from small to medium, for example. Your movement speed increases by 10 feet. You have advantage on strength checks, strength saving throws, and wisdom perception checks that rely on smell. Your claws become 1d8s.
I know it means that the damage they deal, but come on, it says your claws become a d8. And it's just, dice on my fingers! Alright.
mean, D8s are pokey.
They are
Now,
pokey.
here we have, if you take the attack action, using your claws, and there is nothing else in your hands, you gain the extra attack feature, if you do not already have it. When you take the attack action using your claws, in this manner, you can make an additional attack as a bonus action with your beak, which deals piercing damage equal to 1d6 strength modifier. You can resume your small stature using your bonus action. This ability only works upon your Iquiqui form, and its effects cease if you assume other forms. For example, through Wild Shape, the or Polymorph spell.
Polymorph.
Once you use this ability, you can't use it again until you complete a long rest.
This reminds me of the thing in Captain Marvel that's like, oh, I'm just a little kitten.
Oh, the Flurkin?
The Flurkin, that's the word. It's just like, I'm fine, everything's fine, and then just, blah, it's like shirt rips as it doubles in size and just kills everyone with its bare hands and just,
Bare hands.
chirp, chirp, I'm a little Iquiqui. It's all fine. Like, I love that so much.
Very much.
Did I do that?
It's very
Yeah,
Flurkin.
you just explode and shred people to nothingness. As you move, might I add, 55 feet around.
I am going to say that this is a very good example of using open-ended language that allows other things to occur. So it says your growth increases your size by 1 category, from small to medium, for example.
Yeah,
Potion
because
of
if you
giant growth.
if someone's
Yeah.
cast like what's the spell?
Enlarge.
Enlarge.
There it
Or
is,
potion of giant
reduce
growth.
and large.
Or if just
Or
something happened and
Reduce.
Yeah,
And you are a tiny owlbear.
Yes.
becoming a small.
Or just like if something happened and your Iquiqui was made bigger permanently, this means that your owlbear form is also bigger and you're not just always medium owlbear no matter what. It doesn't just say you go up a size to medium. It just says you increase by size.
If you really tried, you could be a gargantuan owlbear.
If you
If you
tried, hard enough,
really hard.
you could do it. Is there a size below tiny?
Microscopic?
No,
I
no.
think-
I mean, in the book, like
No,
rules
I
as in-
believe below tiny is insignificant.
Well, that's
you
not-
are no longer a creature, you are
you-
now a weapon
don't-
projectile.
don't
If
take
I
up
reduce
space,
you to
yeah.
tiny, and then another wizard reduces you again,
Now, that being
Do
said,
you-
technically 2 instances of the same spell cannot affect a creature again. So, like, for instance, you can't cast haste on someone and then the other sorcerer in the party also casts haste on them. That doesn't work.
You could then take like a potion of speed, though. 'cause
Yeah,
that-
something that doesn't directly, like, you could wear boots of speed and have haste cast on you because those are not technically the same
I
ability or
have
spell.
done that. It is nuts.
You go real fast.
Interesting.
That's right, because Fuego hasted Javelin, didn't
And
he?
Javelin has boots of speed.
I'm just
And-
wondering if there's a pixie and I cast reduce on it, does it stop existing? Is that a way to very easily kill
No,
tiny
but it
creatures?
can go inside of your
Body?
air cavities and just kill you from the inside.
It
can
just waits there until
It can pull an Ozzy and Drix and just kill you immediately in like your brainstem.
Yeah, just go right into your bloodstream
Yeah.
and then just poison your mind from within.
Hoist it on your own petard,
Yes.
as they say.
But yeah, so that is the
All right.
adorably monstrous
I love it.
Iquiqui race.
That's fantastic. That art is amazing. I'm sure we will have had it up this whole time, but we got to just touch on that art for just a second.
Yeah, and
It's so
That's a
good.
spice
just to
of
say,
meatball.
it looks like, hold on, this wonderful illustration by Leisha Hannigan.
Yes, thank you, Leisha, for unleashing this upon the world.
a.
Why can't we not do that every 5 minutes?
I'm a bard. What do you want from me? It's my class.
Something other than puns, and it wasn't you, it was her.
Well, yeah, fair.
Sorry, can you just not bear these anymore?
Moving on.
I'll move on.
Move on,
Hey!
please. No.
We've trapped him.
Yeah, sorry, our comedy.
Don't do it. Don't do it. No, I know you're gonna do it. Stop.
Has taken a
No.
wild shape.
Ah!
Feral form.
Yeah, I don't know.
Let's move on. Thank you, Onog. Fantastic. Mercy, you're batting cleanup today, so it's your turn to hit a grand slam here and end us on a high note.
All
Baseball
right.
terms.
Okay.
Wait, does
What,
that
you
mean-
don't know baseball? Yeesh.
Oh man.
Call back.
Call back.
Now we have to keep the Foghorn Leghorn conversation.
It's just
Oh,
why,
no.
why does he say that? Why does he break the fourth wall? Why does the kid try to eat the baseball? Just everything about it. Why does Foghorn Leghorn need to appropriate these weird ideas of masculinity? Like, can't we just let children eat baseballs if they want to.
Yeah, come on.
Oh, wow, okay.
Thank you.
Not anything to do with that.
Finish strong here.
Yeah. So a while ago, I wanted to make a character for a homebrew setting that Thomas and I have created that was a magic user, primarily a caster, but had found this weapon of lore, formed a bond with it, and could also use swords. And so I was like, okay, well, what would be the best class and subclass for that flavor? And I thought Hexblade Warlocks. So I was looking through their abilities and familiarizing myself with it, and I ended up deciding not to do it, and I haven't made the character yet, because I didn't like that the Hexblade Warlock subclass feels inherently evil. Most of your abilities are basically necromancy. A lot of your abilities revolve around
The souls
murdering and then like summoning the murdered souls to do your bidding, which I was trying to go for.
Wait,
almost
people go more than 3 levels into Warlock?
Some people.
occasionally.
Right?
But I wanted something that felt more like an Arthurian Excalibur vibe.
Yeah.
And so I ended up not making the character at the time because I was like, I don't want to be an Eldritch Knight. I want to be more of a caster.
Because we had even talked about some ideas of maybe when you defeat enemies, it calls upon the spirits of heroes. You can flavor it, but it never quite lined up how you wanted it.
It just still wasn't what I was looking for.
So you're doing King Arthur, but Merlin keeps Excalibur instead of King Arthur, basically.
Kinda, yeah,
sure.
More of a caster than King Arthur was.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so I was going for this really specific thing, and nothing was exactly what I wanted. So I gave up on it for the time, and then I found this homebrew on the Unearthed Arcana Reddit page by user, I would pronounce it Xenoezen. It'll be in the description. And this is exactly the flever I was going for. So I wanted to look through the abilities and the stats they came up with and see what you guys thought about it being balanced. So this is the otherworldly patron, the Lady of the Lake. Exactly Arthurian, exactly what I was going for.
I just read the first little...
Yeah, I do like that the flavor text they included is strange women lying in ponds distributing swords is no basis for a system of spellcasting, which is a great Monty Python reference, which is very good. And so, yeah, so I just want to go through this. Lady of the Lake flavor text, it's basically just the Arthurian legend. So you get an expanded spell list. The Lady of the Lake lets you choose from an expanded list of spells when you learn a warlock spell. The following spells are added to the warlock spell list for you. Heroism and Shield, Branding Smite, Calm Emotions, Crusader's Mantle, Elemental Weapon, Aura of Purity, Staggering Smite, Dispel Good and Evil, and Holy Weapon. So committing strong to a flavor.
All very paladin-esque.
Yeah, I was gonna say
very paladin.
Which we'll get to more later.
Yeah, which I mean, that's a whole conversation to be had. So questing warrior is essentially the same as Hex Warrior. It's essentially the same as Hex Warrior, which is the first level Hexblade ability.
But you get heavy armor.
But yes, the difference is that you also get heavy armor, and instead of it just being martial weapons, it's long swords, warhammers, great swords, and lances specifically.
More specific, but then less specific.
Exactly, but more
additional
armor.
heavy.
Trade-off.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. So I think that's balanced okay. And it's basically the same where you get to form a bond with a weapon, and basically you get to use charisma for your attacks, which is great because you're a warlock. That's your stat. Yeah, so basically that's the same. And then you also get, as your other first level ability, Gift of the Lady. And this is where we are just replacing all of the necromancy abilities with different abilities that are just flavored completely differently. At first level, you can delve into reserves of might bestowed by your lady to overcome your enemies. As a bonus action, or as a reaction when you become frightened, you become immune to the frightened condition for 1 minute. Additionally, you gain temporary hit points equal to your warlock level and benefit from the Divine Favor spell for the duration. Once you use this feature, you cannot do so again until after a short rest.
Interesting.
Okay.
So, the
Probably it should say short or long rest, right? I mean, normally...
yes,
It's only a short rest. If you go to sleep for the night, you don't get
you
this
don't
back.
get it only if you nap for 1 hour.
Yes, so it should say short or long rest. That's just, using the language from the books.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I will throw out there, sleep specialists do recommend that you take a short rest before you go to bed. Like, that's a pretty common
They-
practice.
They want us to pregame our sleep?
Yes, you are supposed to pregame your sleep.
That's crazy.
To clarify, the Divine Favor spell, it gives you an extra 1d4 to your attack damage.
Yeah, I think that's it. Overall, it feels strong, but not that strong. I mean, you can just, as a bonus action, become immune to frightened for 1 minute, which is like some monsters really rely on you becoming frightened to get advantage over you, like in combat. But
It's very specifically
it's
helpful.
specific, yeah.
Well,
Well-
but it is, you also do then still get the
You
additional
get-
damage.
you get-
But that's the thing. Yeah, you can it's kind of weird that it has two separate kinds of triggers. Is you can either take it as an action, or it triggers whenever
Someone tries to frighten.
tries to frighten you, and I don't know if I like that necessarily.
It almost seems like what happened is they had two small abilities. They had bonus action, extra 1d4, and then they had, you get frightened, you're not frightened anymore. And they couldn't decide which one they wanted, and so they said both.
But then,
like,
if after that minute something else tries to scare you and you haven't taken a nap, you're gonna get scared again.
I guess
It could do without the reaction, I think. I think it would be still just fine if it said, as a bonus action, you can choose.
Because especially for abilities like this, where it's a limited amount of use, it's part of deciding when to use these abilities is the planning ahead. If it just triggers on a reaction, because I never need to actively use it again. Oh, that thing tried to scare me. Well, guess what? I'm immune now.
Yeah.
Whereas normally it should be like, all right, we need to plan ahead. Does this creature use fear? All right, now let's do our heroic feast, which makes us all immune to fear, and plan ahead and move into that. Whereas this, having it as a reaction, it just kind of cheapens that aspect of the idea.
This is a first level. You can just become immune to fear for the rest of time
Yeah.
because you get it after short rests, and it's a bonus action to use.
I mean, yeah,
why
honestly,
would you ever become afraid ever again?
Honestly, it's especially with how fear works, because a lot of abilities that trigger fear abilities say if the person passes the saving throw, or they become immune to this ability anyways.
Yeah.
So for the next 24 hours. So there's no reason to put that much of a time limit. So why isn't the ability just, you are now immune to fear? Kind of a thing like that. But
I think that could be cleaned up a bit, but I do appreciate the vibe that they were going for, that you are this like courageous fighter, where your enemy tries to scare you and you become braver and you fight even harder after that, which I think is a cool vibe.
That's a good flavor.
Yeah, I think it could
I
just be
love
tightened
what
up
this is showing.
yeah.
I wouldn't be picking it apart if I didn't like it. Sorry.
Yeah, definitely. I think that is a compliment.
I would be endlessly mocking it like so many other things.
I do wish, I think that just thinking of I want the subclass that I'm wanting this to be for that character I wanted to make. I wish that it specifically said that your weapon that you're bonded with could be your magical focus, because generally speaking, a weapon cannot be your magical focus. A lot of people try to do that in their games. That's OP. You can't do that. It can't be a weapon.
Generally speaking.
I think specifically the Pact of the Blade get the ability to do
Yeah,
that.
there are circumstances, but you can't just say, I'm a wizard and my dagger is my magical focus.
Yeah.
You can't do that unless,
Well, staves can be magical focus, because that's why staves
Quarter
staves
staves
are
can be,
used.
but not most other weapons.
Most weapons can't.
Yeah, you can't have a great sword and also cast spells with it.
Which you bought an old man.
There are reasons why that is valid. You can look into it.
Yeah.
So then moving past that point, Knightly Steed is your 6th level ability, and this is where we get real paladin-y feeling. At 6th level, you gain proficiency in animal handling if you do not have it already. Additionally, you can use your action to expend a warlock spell slot to cast the spell Find Steed. Additionally, you can summon the creature beneath you, automatically riding it. At 13th level, you can cast the spell Find Greater Steed through this feature.
Okay.
So it's a little bit 2 abilities in one there. I feel like with this subclass, you're trying to feel like a paladin, but cast like a warlock.
But stay relatively squishy and casty.
Feel like a paladin, cast like a warlock. I got a t-shirt that says that.
Yeah.
2 different fonts, you know what I'm saying?
At 10th level, you get Crusader's Will. You can activate Gift of the Lady whenever you fail a saving throw that causes you to be charmed, grappled, poisoned, prone, restrained, or stunned. When you do so, you automatically succeed the saving throw. That's really good.
Yeah.
You can activate Gift of the Lady this way once and regain the ability to do so after a long rest. This does not stop you from activating this feature normally. So Crusader's Will and Gift of the Lady are two separate like uses that just do mostly the same thing. Like it's a little confusing.
It's a little complicated. Yeah.
Oh, so
can
Crusaders will. It's kind of what we were
It's the
talking
better
about
Gift of the Lady.
the time sorcerer, where it's like it's just Gift of the Lady, but now it's better.
And you can only do a better one once per day.
And
but
then
you can
also do the worst
normal
one.
Gift of Lady every short rest.
Yeah. So it's a little bit confusing.
A little bit.
Chalice of the Grail. At 14th level, you have sipped from the Lady's Chalice, granting you saint-like might. Your natural lifespan is doubled. Additionally, you gain the benefits of the Shield of Faith spell and have advantage on wisdom saving throws when you activate Gift of the Lady. And Shield of Faith, I believe, increases your AC.
By 2.
Yeah.
So does you just have that always?
No, it says when you activate Gift of the Lady. So it adds it on as...
Wait, your natural lifespan is doubled. Additionally, you gain the benefits of the shield spell.
You just have it.
Oh, no, and have advantage on wisdom saving throw when you activate Gift of the Lady.
The problem there is the grammar's a little complicated.
I would say.
It seems like the intent is both of those things occur when you activate Gift of the Lady.
Right.
You get advantage on saving throws, and now when you activate it, you get the Shield of Faith spell. Otherwise, it would just be you always have Shield of Faith spell, which that doesn't sound intended.
Yeah, because I was trying to... I had read that as you always have Shield of Faith.
That's how I interpreted it as well.
Yeah.
So I just cleaned that up a little.
Yeah, the intent of that sentence needs to be clarified a bit. Normally, you do that by putting the intent at the front of it. You say, when you activate Gift of the Lady, you now gain the benefits of Shield of Faith and have...
Right.
You just got to reframe that sentence a little
bit. So that's
bit.
okay.
So the conversation that I think is worth having about this is one that comes up with, I think, any time you homebrew a class or a race, the main question that you have to keep in your mind the whole time is, why does somebody want to be this? Mm-hmm. And why should they be this instead of anything else that already exists?
Yeah. What do you get out of this as opposed to just being a paladin, or being a paladin that multi-classes into celestial warlock? What is different about this?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, and I think that raises a question, I mean, even from the beginning, why do you want to be a Hexblade, even a regular Hexblade warlock, instead of either a paladin or eldritch knight?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Because they're all on a similar spectrum.
And we even talked about the weird divisions between, a warlock, a cleric, and a paladin, where... What is even the difference between a cleric has almost made a deal with its deity, but they're good except for the bad ones. But
that one's more sociologically accepted.
Yeah, it's weird where these things are. Warlocks and clerics both serve a higher being that gives them their power, but in this shade of different ways where they're an entirely different class. And sometimes you're well, I want to have a deal with an advanced being that gives me my power. I want to find a lady in a lake who gives me a sword. Well, you could probably just be a cleric and have her be your god then. But it's well, no, I don't want that to be... There's a slightly different vibe there.
There's a different relationship.
And splitting those hairs is a little weird, and why those classes are different from each other. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think that it also raises the question of alignment, because in previous editions of D&D... to be a certain class, you had to be certain alignments. Right. Whereas 5th edition does not technically require that, but then it sort of a little bit does sometimes.
But good luck flavoring most warlocks anything other than evil. It's hard.
Yeah, or even if you have picked a deity and then you act not according to its alignment, that could have consequences.
Yeah.
But alignment is so fuzzy in 5th edition, and it is sort of that thing where there is no inherent alignment attributed to being a sorcerer or a fighter. Nothing in those rules makes you feel like you have to play that a certain way. But being a warlock, you feel like you're supposed to be an edgelord. It feels like you should be sort of bad.
Yeah.
And
which is why I appreciate our friend Mel. In our main group campaign that I'm running, we have a friend who plays a warlock named Mel. I think what's her full name? Is it Mel?
Mel?
No, that's not it. She has been resurrected. So the joke is that she is new Mel. But no, she's Mel the Magnificent or something that.
Yeah.
And she basically, her character arc started out as that she pretends to have divination magic and can see the future through cards and can give readings and things like that, but that's not real. But she is really a warlock.
Well, just her story was her mom was a fortune teller and she didn't have the fortune telling abilities, so she went and made a pact so that she could get powers
So that
to
she
make
could
it
get
look
magic.
like she was a fortune teller.
So she could pretend to be a fortune teller, but still really be a powerful warlock.
So good.
And her character is one of the most kind, giving, and understanding warlocks I've ever seen. And when she first came to me and said, I'm going to be a warlock, I was like, uh-oh. But she has risen above that stigma.
One of the interesting things about, like, specifically with the patrons, the warlock patrons, is some of them really lend themselves to specific alignments. Where, like, if you're gonna be an archfey warlock, you can work with most alignments.
Just kind of do
because
whatever.
archfays are just weirdos, you know? They're just like weird dudes.
They just hang out in the woods and
like
get people drunk
they're
and turn them into donkeys.
But maybe that's evil, but maybe that's just weird. Who knows? But then it's like serving like your infernal patron. It's hard to do that lawful good.
There's one direction you're going, and it's not up.
Yeah, you're like, well, I did make a deal with literal Satan himself to gain power over my enemies, and all of the abilities that come with it are, I kill people better now. And it's like, it's not that you can't, and I mean, you can always be creative and find new ways.
I feel like you're just describing the, like, emotional crux of Dean Winchester right now.
Oh yeah, no, that's fair, Supernatural, the TV show. Fair enough. But like it is harder to wedge that in like that square peg into the round hole of like, but my character will be good. And like only do this for good. Because there's rules about if you disobey your patron, they might take your powers away. Stuff like that. And like Mercy said, when you're a fighter, it doesn't matter how you act. Your fighter abilities work the same. It doesn't change it, you know?
Well, and I think it's interesting too, just with the idea of a hexblade or Lady of the Lake thing, where you're casting spells, but you're also stabbing. Where even aside from flavor concerns, there's also just the concern of another reason why I didn't bother doing the legwork to reflavor it to play that character is like you gotta kind of ask yourself, like, I want to be a sword boy, but also I want to be a magic boy, but I got one action on my turn, and like, what am I actually gonna do every time? And I should just be a class that's better at that. And I have a character that is a Eldritch Knight, and I've liked doing that, but that's because I only have a few spells, and all of them are I stabbed you, and it was better.
Yeah.
It's not like I'm deciding between casting a spell or stabbing you on my turn.
Yeah.
Whereas with Hexblade, you are.
I mean, you even get that with like clerics though too.
Yeah.
Like if you're a really fighty cleric or a paladin, you have to kind of choose between the things you're gonna do.
And that's the thing though, paladins actually don't really get that as much. Clerics are very interesting. Clerics have a lot of different options they can do on their turn. But paladins, that's mainly why Smite was incorporated, so you can use your spell slots while stabbing people. Like Mercy was saying, where it's like, I can stab you, and I am now stabbing you so much better than
Booming
before.
Blade.
Yeah,
Green
Booming
Flame
Blade. Smite. A majority of paladin abilities or of paladin spells are bonus actions.
That's true.
So you can cast them and then keep fighting.
One thing that's interesting about what you just showed, Mercy, is that it is even more specific than those other things. Like Lady of the Lake, it really is sort of pigeonholing you into this, like, you are a righteous, like, crusader of, like, holiness and justice.
It would be weird to be a chaotic evil Lady of the Lake.
Yeah.
Which I think is the point of this
Yeah,
homebrew.
definitely.
Yeah.
And I
But
guess
it
it
is
is
weird.
the point. And homebrews, you can get more specific because that's sort of the whole point. But I think it's interesting because when you described your original creation,
it's not exactly.
It's not quite the same thing, and I feel like it would be hard to play this like, I just have a really cool bond with a very magical sword, but everything about me is like, God chose me for the Crusades. It's like kind of what this sounds like.
Yeah.
I think what is sort of going on is that I thought I wanted this, and then I read this, and I thought, it's good, and it's cool. But I don't know, I am very, and maybe other players don't play this way, but I am very much like, but what am I actually going to do on my turn every time? I just want to be the best at that. And after finding what I thought I wanted, I'm sort of realizing, I think I actually do want to be an Eldritch Knight. I just, like, want my DM to let me make the sword inherently magic and be my magic focus. Which isn't in rules as written.
Well, welcome to everyone
Everybody.
else.
Exactly.
How we all feel.
A lot in the
Yeah.
comments on this, a lot of people were talking about like, I'm actually trying to make an entire Arthurian setting. This is perfect. I'm also working on these other things. Like, thanks for contributing this.
Cool,
So
cool,
this
cool.
is like for a very specific goal.
Yeah.
And it's well done for that.
And honestly, I think that is what is really cool about a lot of homebrews. Like, this flavor, and like a lot of people come to D&D because they're like, I want to be that classic, like, knight, but I'm also magic, but I'm also like the chosen one.
Yeah.
Like,
I do want to be a little sneaky too.
I wanna
though,
be a
you
little-
know?
But I also do want to pickpocket a little bit.
like, and so this
Uh-oh.
kind of gets you that thing. Normally, you don't want the big generic classes to be too specific. But if you find a really cool homebrew, you can get really, really specific with that because it's just for you and the people using that homebrew, and it doesn't have to taint the experience of everyone else
Well, yeah.
trying to use it.
Yeah.
If it's in the PHB, it's gotta fit like the 10 million people that are all gonna be fighters, and they're all gonna be a different fighter. But if it's a homebrew, it doesn't have to fit.
It just
more
has to
than
fit you and
your
Yeah, it
group.
just has to
Yep.
fit what you're doing.
And so that's why it is very cool that like homebrews allow for that extreme amount of specificity.
Totally.
Yeah, and that's why
Totally.
we love homebrews, and that's why we love talking about them on the show. Thanks so much for everyone who's brought their homebrews this week. If you have a homebrew that you want us to talk about, send it to us at thecopperfoxinn@gmail.com or comment it below this video and let us know what we should look at. If you've made one or if you've found one that you really like and want us to talk about. We'd love to see what you guys have to offer. We've really appreciated all the hard work that goes into the homebrews that we review, and we hope that you guys will all join us next time back here at the Copper Fox Inn.
And I just want to say thank you. It's going to take a long time for that glove to get to you, but it when it does, it'll give you a nice high five.
It's on its way now. Close your doors.
It's speeding through multiple high-rise buildings.
Man of Steel style. Just boosh, boosh, boosh.
Yeah.
The collateral damage is insane. See you next week. Keep on adventuring.